Hi, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we're unpacking what you really need to know before investing in a flow wrapper. Whether you're just starting out or upgrading your packaging setup, there are some key factors you might not have considered. Joining me is Tony from PAC Machinery, who's really knowledgeable about flow wrappers, and he's here to share practical tips that can save you time and money. Let's jump in. Hi, Tony.
Hi, Shannon. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. So I wanted to talk about a few considerations to make when looking at purchasing a flow wrapper. And for those of you that aren't familiar with flow wrapping, you've probably seen a flow wrap product, like hundreds of them, thousands of them if you walk into any grocery store, right? It's got a thin seal on the bottom. It's got sawtooth seals here, and make it easy to tear open. It's probably one of the most popular ways of packaging a product, especially food. And there's several reasons for that. One is because it's one of the most aesthetically pleasing packages, right, for products in retail. And part of that is because you can get a very nice tight fit with that package around the product. The second reason is that it's, if not the least expensive, it's close to being the least expensive way of packaging per product when it comes to material costs. And then the third is it's highly productive. You can do thousands to 10,000s depending on your flow wrapper per hour. So it's a very, very efficient way of packaging products.
Tony, one of the first decisions people face is whether to use branded or non-branded film, also known as registered print film. What should companies keep in mind when choosing between those options?
So a flow wrapper uses a roll of film that basically comes down on top of a former, and that product flows into that former while the film is wrapped around the product and then sealed as it comes out of the machine. That film, right, you have to look at whether you are going to be doing branded film or non-branded film. So in this case, right, you have a branded film. You've got the product picture, you've got the nutrition information, you've got all that stuff on this package. Sometimes you don't need that. Sometimes people just need like clear film because they're going to maybe put it in a master pack or a box that's going to have all that information on there. But that's a very important consideration to make because not all machines can do registered print film. So if that's something you need or you plan on doing in the future, you have to make sure that the machine you're going to get can do registered print film.
And for those producing multiple versions of a product, how can they manage film costs? Is there a smart way to design for flexibility?
So if you've got multiple flavors, let's say I got 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 flavors. If you're just starting out and this is your first flow wrapper, that could get very costly very quickly because you've got to buy minimum quantities of custom printed film from your film provider. And so if you've got to do that for 5 to 10 different flavors, the initial cost could be prohibitive. So that's something else to consider. A lot of times what people will do is they'll maybe get a static design for one, maybe their logo, all that kind of stuff. And then a lot of these flow wrappers will have options of printers. So they can print the variable information, like maybe the flavor or the nutrition information for that particular flavor. So that way they only have to order one roll of film to start off with, and then they can do the different flavors or whatever it is using the printer, right? Which is going to be much more cost effective to begin with. And then once they build their volumes up, now they can start ordering custom film for each of the different flavors. So those are things to consider on the film side.
Now, let's talk size. How does the variety of product sizes affect the type of flow wrapper someone should buy?
When you look at entry-level flow wrappers, they're good for doing 1, maybe 2 different products, but there's a lot of manual setup to switch between products. So they're not really designed to do a whole variety of different sizes of products. So that's something else to consider. As you go up the food chain and you get into the higher levels of flow wrappers, they come with more options that allow you to easily switch between different sizes, right? So it's more digital. You don't have as much manual adjustment to make. But even that, at that point, you also have to consider that if I'm going to do a very small product to a very large product, there's only so much that you can do as far as variance in size, even with a higher end flow wrapper, where you may have to have a second machine. If you're going from a really small product to a really big product, it's too much of a gap in size. So in that instance, you either have to get a second machine or you have to get what's called the second chain for the pitch, right? So that's something else to consider. So the different sizes of products are very important.
Support is often overlooked, especially by first-time buyers. Tony, what kind of training and assistance should someone expect when buying their first flow wrapper?
That's probably as critical as the price you get or where you get that machinery from. I see a lot of people go on Alibaba and that kind of stuff and they'll order machines and then they get delivered. They don't know how to use them. If you've never had a flow wrapper before, if this is your first time with a flow wrapper, you've got to have on-site training, or it'll be a nightmare for you. It's very, very important. So that's something to consider. And then the other thing is parts. Are you going to be able to get parts? If you need a part for that machine, are they available here in the United States, or are you going to have to go, abroad, or are you even going to be able to get parts, right? So that's important. And then what kind of technical support, right? Do you get, so with PAC Machinery, for instance, when you order a flow wrapper from us, you have phone technical support for as long as you own that product, and that's at no charge to the customer. And then the third consideration under support is more to do with your own organization. You want to make sure you designate a lead operator that's going to maintain and run that machine, that knows how to do that at all times, right? So you need somebody that's going to take ownership of that process. That's very important as well. Flow wrappers are not something where you can just pull somebody off the street that's never used one and say, hey, jump on here and start flow wrapping. That's not how it works.
So PAC Machinery has something called an FAT, which is a factory acceptance test. Can you explain why having that matters?
And that entails basically a full production run with your film and your product on our machine, either in person at our factory or via a live feed, to ensure that the flow wrapper and the film that you have and the product all run the way we say it's going to run. And then one of the other things that we do here at PAC Machinery is when we create your machine, we also create a page in your manual specifically for your product with those specifications on that product itself, how to set the film up for that product, how to set the product up and all that kind of stuff, all the settings. And that is an actual page customized for you in the manual.
Thanks so much for sharing all your insight today, Tony. That was packed with value.
Hopefully these little tidbits will make it a little easier in the journey of purchasing your next flow wrapper.
Thanks again for all the fantastic tips and behind the scenes knowledge. For more on flow wrappers and PAC Machinery's full lineup, head over to pacmachinery.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.